The sun is shining in the sky, hardly a cloud in sight, and we are going to have a fantastic race here today.
Drivers, start your engine!
But coming to the green here, it's going to clean out real well. Pace car's off, kick some ass.
There's the green flag and we're underway.
Green, 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 green. Outside, still there at your door. Good job, man. Nice and solid. Take care of your stuff.
Three wide.
Here, Hawkins into the wall.
Oh, big trouble!
Crash in the back. Oh, there's a crash in the back.
Trouble!
Great job, doing awesome, buddy.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome here to the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where tonight we're getting set for our third race of the season. It is the Pennzoil 400 from here in Nevada. Of course, you know, it is the third race of the season. I don't even know what to say there, but of course it's a nice and beautiful day. We have all 42 cars on the track. I mean, racetrack's gonna be very, very slick. So I mean, like I said, I have no idea what to say, dude. I'm just really excited to get these cars rolling. Just in case if you missed it last week, there is something to talk about. But just in case if you missed it last week, we were at the Rockingham Speedway, which saw pretty much another caution-free race, but definitely a lot more chaos than what we saw at the Daytona 500 just 2 weeks ago. But at the end of the day, it saw Stephen Colon pull off the pit strategy just right, making every single call, every perfect call that he could possibly make to his team that saw him get Colon Motorsports and Stephen Colon himself their first Pepsi Cup Series win since joining in 2020. Now, some of you, we talked about this last night during qualifying, but some of you may be wondering that if you have read the schedule, wait, we were supposed to be here on the 15th of March. Why were we here on March 1st? Well, the reasoning for that is just I subconsciously put Las Vegas for this week, much less than leave it off until the 15th. And that was kind of a mistake on my part, but hey, better to, it's better to run it earlier than later, just at least to get it out of the way. So that way these drivers can have another good, consistent break before we get back at it at COTA on the 22nd of March, which this should be pretty fun, though, to say the least, as far as this race goes. But before we get to COTA, we got to get through here tonight. So with that said, let's go ahead and review your point standings. We talked about these last night during qualifying, but just in case for those that may not have kept track, here's Stephen Colon. He went from 22nd on the points bracket all the way to the lead with his win and the dominant performance that he had at the Rockingham Speedway, pretty much collecting all those bonus points in every single category. And you see a massive shakeup in the point standings. Some drivers wound up going from the top of the leaderboard all the way down towards the bottom, some of them from the bottom to the top. Like Nia Steidel, for instance, she went from below the top 30 all the way up to 19th in the standings after her 7th place finish last week at the Rockingham Speedway. But looking to try to keep that success going, she qualifies 16th here for this race, so we'll see how everything shakes up after 134 laps. But take a look at the rest of your points right here, and just everybody else is at the bottom of the bracket. Nathan Stapleton, Sebastian Vaughn, Reagan Whitlock, all these drivers, Dorn, Moscow, Rose, all of them not getting the starts of the season off that they wanted, but still very, very early on, and things could still very well shake up. But for Nathan Stapleton, this is not the first time that we've seen him in this spot before. Last year, if you kept track in the McDonald's Cup Series, he didn't really have the greatest of seasons. He unfortunately did not have the best of results. He had some moments under the sun, but unfortunately the results didn't quite back up those runs that he had been getting. But nonetheless, here, especially for this year, unfortunately, Stapleton's year hasn't gotten off on the right foot. Of course, 3 points to his name coming into this weekend at Las Vegas, but looking to change all that as we get ready to go here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And just a few more minutes, but with that said, let's go ahead and review your starting lineup. Of course, Russell Blaze starts on the pole position, managed to grab it at the last second. Sebastian Vaughn managed to rebound and grab the outside pole. Claire Phillips starting in the third position. There's Noah Clifton, whom I thought was going to have the pole spot, but qualifies fourth nonetheless. So good stuff right there for NS Racing. Currently the highest qualifying NS Racing car. All of the rest of the other drivers qualified towards the back end of the field. We'll get to them here in a little bit. There's Steidl. We talked about her a little bit ago. She qualifies 16th here for this race. Better than what she did last week, qualifying 29th. Positions 21st through 30th right there. There's Alex Bonsignor starting 27th. And of course, you know, it's definitely going to be pretty interesting because there's a lot of other drivers that were fast last week. Unfortunately, didn't get the best qualifying spots for this week. As we scroll down onto the next page here for the starting lineup, there's our points leader, Stephen Colon, a repeat of what we saw last week where our former points leader, Claire Phillips, to start out, she started in the 40th position, finished 23rd at the Rock, but let's see what Colon's able to do here for Vegas. And there's the rest of the NS Racing cars. 38th for Andrew Miller, 39th for Zachary Fitzwater, 41st for Nathan Stapleton. So it's definitely a lot of all these other cars. They're going to have a lot of work cut out for them as we get ready to go here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And it's definitely going to be a fun one here at this facility. And we're looking forward to it. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here for race number 3. Who's going to roll the dice and go the distance in 134 laps time? Drivers are strapped into their cars. Pre-race ceremonies are just now starting to wrap up. But in order to get these 42 engines rolling, or 42 cars rolling out on the track, let's go trackside to get the command to fire these engines.
Let's get it started. Drivers, start your engines!
And there it is. Engines are fired. Pace car is rolling off, and so are these 42 competitors. There's at least, actually, before we officially get them rolling, there's one other thing I do have to do before we continue on. Yes, you see my camera. I do get that. And that is turn off the sound alerts. There we go. But the field is rolling here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Getting set for our third race of the season. Of course, Russell Blaze, Sebastian Vaughn, they're on the front row here for tonight's race. And it's going to be very interesting to see how all 42 cars are going to handle, because if we recall last year, in the McDonald's Cup Series, all the cars pretty much were able to spread out. They were able to create some space between one another and get a good, consistent green flag rhythm going for a while. This year, with these WRLA Pepsi Cup cars, the package is different. This is specifically designed to bring all the cars closer together, make it a little bit harder to spread out and try to create some breathing room. So it should be interesting. 134 laps to distance. Russell Blaze, Sebastian Vaughn lead him to green, and we're underway here in Las Vegas. Blaze breaks out with the lead, and they're already going 3 wide. Coming off of turn number 4, that's Claire Phillips in the middle. Meanwhile, Blaze leads lap number 1. Wyatt Walker on the attack down there on the inside line. And they're still 3 wide with Phillips in the middle. Vaughn still up on the top. Ajax Fitzgerald making his Pepsi Cup debut. He's on the bottom. That is the 3rd Lightstar Racing Co. car. And this is going to be very treacherous here, very dangerous, because 3 wide here at Las Vegas typically does not work because of how wide this track is and because of how slick the track conditions can be. You never quite know, because neither of those characteristics about this track and of the racing on this track, neither of them mix. So that's definitely going to be something to watch out for as this race goes on. But after 3 laps, they managed to keep it together. They're back to double file, and we stay green. 3 laps in the books. Here comes Abby Walker down to the inside of Ajax Fitzgerald. Not able to make that move stick as she gets moved up high by Tanner Parton in the 07, making a charge for the 4th position. Meanwhile, up front, challenge for the lead is on. Here comes Wyatt Walker to the inside of Russell Blaze. This is for the lead. And put the 19 of Walker up into the top spot. Walker was one of those drivers whom I personally felt had the race in the bag because of how dominant he was, as well as with Stephen Colon, but the pit strategy wasn't quite on his side, unlike Stephen Colon, but still managed to get a really good finish out of it, and he moves himself into the 7th spot in the point standings. But he's still looking for his first Pepsi Cup Series win, and it could come here later on today if he finds himself in that position. Fitzgerald led that lap, but remember, the part-time cars don't get credit for any bonus points whatsoever. Here comes Parton to the inside, 3 wide. That's Chase McClure in the 52 down on the inside. Another driver making his Pepsi Cup debut. So that means all four of the Cologne Motorsports cars and all 3 of the Lightstar Racing Co. cars are in this field. They're 3 wide, 2 rows deep. This is going to get very dangerous. Very treacherous conditions here up front here as Ryan Little leads that lap. And they're starting to really squeeze together there on the entry of turn number 1. Definitely something to watch out for as this race goes on, but Little holds on to the top position. He breaks away with the lead side by side for second. That's Jerry Rose. And also Chase McClure getting up there. Walker in the middle of this 3 wide fiasco is up front. Here comes Braden Perez in the 88. Down on the inside, there's Rogel Dorn, Alex Bonsignor, Caleb Rose, Eric Monaco. A lot of new players up here inside of the top 10 as Little continues to tries to check out by just a little bit, and they're starting to slide. And they somehow keep it together. That was so close. We almost got our first caution flag of the season, but these drivers kept it together. Chase McClure kept it off the wall, and we stay green. That was very close. That was a very close call for Chase McClure. As meanwhile, Gundillo down on the inside. He's going to try to go for this race lead. He's got a bit of help from Braden Perez, and he's got it. New race leader, it's the 51 of Ryan Gundillo as they head back down into turn 1. Perez making a charge down on the inside. Gonna go for this top position with 10 laps here in the books. And they are starting to spread out just a hair. You can kind of notice it here especially from this view. They're starting to spread out by just a hair. So this is basically what I'm talking about with all these cars being brought closer together. This is sort of similar to what we see, on the IRL NASCAR stuff with Atlanta being a quote unquote super speedway track, or as what they've been calling it these days, a drafting track. But as far as this package goes, I mean, it's supposed to bring all the cars closer together and a little bit harder to make some space and spread out and try to create a little bit of breathing room between yourself and the next car in front of you or behind you. So with this WRLA package, it definitely does create for some more high intensity action, especially for a place like Las Vegas Motor Speedway. You take a look a little bit further in the back here. They're starting to string out a little bit more towards the back of the back half of the field. There's Zachary Taylor, and also, whoa, almost got turned there by Stephen Colon in the 25 as he moves his way up through the field, getting to the inside of Zachary Taylor and moves up into the 30th position, trying to get by for 29th. I mean, he's picked up probably at least a few more spots from that. So move the 25 from 30th all the way up. Looks like, yes, to the 24th position. So not too bad there for Stephen Colon, who won last week at Rockingham Speedway and is already progressing his way up through the field. So definitely a very good job here for Stephen Colon in the 25 machine, our current points leader coming into this weekend here at Las Vegas. Braden Perez continues to hold on to this top position. Alex Bonsignor moves up into the second spot, trying to go for his second Pepsi Cup Series victory. Another driver that didn't quite get his season started off on the right foot, but trying to turn that around as he is 30th in the points standings. He's been 30th for the last 2 races, but looking to try to change all that here tonight, as he's going to try to gun for this race lead. Not if the 31 of Eric Monaco has anything to say about it, as he dives low on the 22. Not able to make that move stick, though. That opens up the door for Wayne Lopez to drive underneath, well, to try to make a move of his own, and that doesn't work out either. So right now it is 4 cars that break out single file. And then you get back to 5th. That's Alexander Rowe, 3407. That's Tanner Parton for Vision Motorsports, fighting door to door for that 5th position. They're all double file. And there's the other 2 drivers for Ennis Racing that didn't have the best of qualifying positions. That's Zachary Fitzwater in the 98. Right behind him is his boss, Nathan Stapleton, in the 97. Who's had some very early season woes and is definitely a familiar face to early season troubles for Nathan Stapleton. Didn't have himself the best of McDonald's Cup Series seasons last year, and here we are this year, not getting off to the right start, not getting off on the right foot here for the Pepsi Cup Series tenure, especially for the return of WRLA. But as far as Nathan Stapleton goes, I mean, he always tries to find a way. He always does eventually find a way to try to turn his season around, even if it's just by a little bit. So for Nathan Stapleton, I would definitely expect him to be a player later on in this 2025 season. Who knows, that comeback, that turnaround could start here today if he wins here at Las Vegas. Meanwhile, up front, a little bit further in the back, of course, 3 wide. That's Aaron Abel in the 43. He's in the middle. There's Terry Walker up top. Sebastian Vaughn on the bottom. And they do get out of that 3 wide situation, at least for the most part, as we're 21 laps complete here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Braden Perez continues to lead the charge as they work their way off of turn number 2. Alexander Rowe breaks out with 2nd. Parton and Monaco battling it out for 3rd. There's Zachary Fitzwater there in the 4th spot, or at least 5th. He's going to move up to 4th after that move. But the top 2 break out single file, and now you can kind of start to see these drivers. I mean, this pack is starting to spread out. But usually it does take a little bit for these cars to break out, to spread out. Here's a look at this view right here. This definitely may give you a good vantage point. That is after at least 23 laps of action. And already these drivers are spread out. They're already trying to make some breathing room, but there are pit stops that are looming around the corner here in just a few more laps. Meanwhile, you see Alexander Rowe fighting down on the inside of Braden Perez. He's going to go to the race lead and just barely gets it over Perez by just 3/100ths of a second. As Perez now gets kicked back into the second position, he might lose a few more positions if he stays up there. But as of right now, all these drivers doing a fantastic job of keeping it clean and keeping it green. We had a few close calls earlier in the race, just in case if you guys are tuning in. We've been caution free thus far, working lap 26 right now. Alexander Rowe leads the charge off of Zachary Fitzwater and Braden Perez. Looks like Perez is going to hold on the outside and retain the second position from Fitzy. Tanner Parton looking to try to do the same thing, but the run's just not quite working out the same way compared to what Perez was able to do. And they're starting to slide around just a little bit more as Parton gets shoved up to the middle line, or at least, yeah, up on that second line. Skylar Taylor, that 41 machine, up there in that fourth spot. Look at the one of Wayne Lopez moving up to that fourth position, trying to take it away from Taylor. Alex Bonsignor is right there in tow in that 22 as the top three all check out. Single file. Some of the drivers ended up checking up midway through 1 and 2. But this is where all the battling is commencing. Of course, with Bonsignor, with Parton, there's Rogel Dorn in the 86 machine. You also have Aaron Abel going around the 31 of Eric Monaco down on the inside. But this has been actually some really good action here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. With coming around to complete 29 laps of action, it is Alexander Rowe who leads the charge off of Braden Perez, Zachary Fitzwater, Wayne Lopez, and Skylar Taylor. Now Alex Bonsignor joins the party. That completes your top 6. And now, of course, how about this, actually? Here's Val Mosco in the 33. Last year, he actually won here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Now theoretically trying to go for a repeat. Won it last year in the McDonald's Cup Series, now trying to win it again this year for the Pepsi Cup Series. Of course, both leagues and both series are very, very different from one another, so don't get them, don't say that they're the same, because I promise you they're not. And here we go. Pit stops are commencing. Sebastian Vaughn breaks out. He comes down to pit road. And he's the only driver that has come down to pit road. With 31 laps complete here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. We're going to have more drivers come on down to pit road, but we're going to have to be very careful here because we could see a stack up. We could see a wreck happen. And luckily that didn't happen. And actually, Terry Walker just lost control of his car a little bit after Ryan Little got into the back of Walker, but we keep it clean and green for right now. As at least a lot of cars did come on down to pit road. Now the rest of them should be breaking off and pitting this time by. Alexander Rowe actually stays out, along with Monaco. And those are the last two cars that, well, last three now, if you count the 67 of Andrew Ramsey, who just stayed out. There are indeed multiple cars that are making contact with one another. But, as of right now, we've been clean. I'm surprised, actually. We've been clean and green for this long. I thought we were going to have a caution, you know, for obviously for drivers stacking up on top of one another and potentially causing a wreck. But surprisingly enough, we stay clean and green. Sebastian Vaughn, I'm pretty sure, might come out with the race lead, but we're just going to have to wait and see as they come off of turn number 4. Vaughn tries to get around Terry Walker, who now has a little bit of damage to the rear end of his car. Rowe still being shown is still being listed as the leader, but he is now coming out of the pits after getting service done to his car. Same for Eric Monaco and Andrew Ramsey. So the lead, actually, wait a minute, hold up, the yellow is out. Caution on the speedway. There's a crash in turn 3 and it's still happening. That's Nikki Fox around. There's Aaron Abel. Nia Steidel on her roof comes back to rest on all 4 tires. Zachary Taylor collected. There's Quentin Moore in the 04 machine. Campbell Marsh. Abby Walker. Oh my goodness. That did not look pretty whatsoever. And we're going to have a multitude of retirees here in this race. Good grief. First caution of the season officially comes out. It took about 3 races, but the streak of, it took 2 races, of course. I mean, we had 2 caution-free events, but that streak has officially ended right here at Las Vegas. Of course, Alexander Rowe being shown as the leader, and Zachary Fitzwater making the move to pit road along with a multitude of other drivers. Looks like that might be the rest of the field as Rowe and Monaco stay out. Whoa, a little careful there. And I thought Stephen Colon was going to get into the back of Jerry Rose. He does have a little bit of damage to the right side of his car, but he should be okay to continue. But we are going to have a multitude of retirees here for this race as Alexander Rowe leads the charge, and we're going to go back and take a look at what happened that caused that first yellow flag of the day here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, involving Nia Steidel, Aaron Abel, Abby Walker, Noah Clifton, Zachary Taylor, and others. But let's go ahead and see what happened that brought out our first yellow flag of the day. And this was just coming out of pit road. Looks like, yeah, there might have been some contact here with Stephen Colon in the 25. This is the problem with exiting the pits side by side. This is what winds up happening as Colon gets into the left rear of Aaron Abel. Abel hits the wall, shoots back up into turn 3, and pounds the outside retaining barrier with the passenger side of his car. And Nia Steidel just, if she had turned down just a little bit lower, she would have been okay. But unfortunately, that number 6 gets right in to Aaron Abel. And there's Nikki Fox piling in. Campbell Marsh, look at these cars flying up into the air. Nikki Fox also gets hit hard by Quentin Moore. Campbell Marsh slides in. There's Zachary Taylor. Nowhere to go for either him or Noah Clifton. And lots of hard hits through turns 3 and 4 here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That's going to bring out our first yellow flag of the night and of the season here in the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series race number 3. Let's go back and take a look at all that in real time. And then just watch it all unfold, because this all happens in a hurry. See, Colon gets into the left rear of Aaron Abel. And Abel's just not able to control the car at that point, because once he gets turned and pounds the inside wall, he's just along for the ride. And look at all the chaos that ensues here with all these hard hits and cars flying up into the air. There's Nia Steidel, who ended up tumbling and comes back to rest on all 4 wheels. And Steidel came off of a fantastic run at Rockingham last week. Was looking to try to get another good run in here tonight. unfortunately, all those hopes and dreams have been dashed this weekend here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And a lot of other drivers, in that fiasco were hoping for the same thing. For Noah Clifton, he was trying to, of course, he was another one of those drivers that was trying to get up through the point standings. He's inside of the top 20. Abby Walker, same case for her. There's Quentin Moore, who came into this race top 10 in the standings. Unfortunately, he's going to take a huge hit after tonight. But a few key players are out of this one, and unfortunately, they are going to be done for the night here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. So as we're back to live action, all these other drivers are wrapping up their stops, and they are going to be down and away and restarting in a little some different positions. So we'll see how that goes. Jerry Rose getting the damage repaired on his race car to get sent back out. In the meantime, since we're under yellow, Horse Reaper, want to thank you so much for the 3-stream streak. Greatly appreciate it. And I hope everybody's having themselves a fantastic Saturday night. If you're just now tuning in, we're currently working our first caution flag of the season. There's the drivers that are out of the race because of the big, huge crash through turns 3 and 4. Quentin Moore, Zachary Taylor, Nia Steidel, Abby Walker, Nikki Fox, Noah Clifton, Aaron Abel, and Campbell Marsh. Those are the drivers that unfortunately have gone behind the wall on lap number 34. So as we get ready, we're going to get ready to go back under green here in just a little bit. But of course, obviously, for those that may be wondering, yes, of course, these drivers, I mean, with as early as it is in the season, we've mentioned it before, but do expect a lot of shakeups in the point standings. This is of course probably the most dramatic part of the season to start out, because there's a lot of jostling around in the point standings very early on. It's very easy to gain or lose positions in the point standings because of how close all the drivers are, and it's very possible. For say if you're Stephen Colon, you could have the points lead and then all of a sudden drop down to 15th after one race. Or if you're somebody like Nia Steidel, in her case, I know we brought her up a lot, but you could go from below the top 30 all the way up to 19th in the standings. But unfortunately, here tonight, she's going to take a huge hit in the points, and she'll probably drop outside of the top 20 after tonight. So we've just picked up one to go. All 34 cars that are still on the racetrack, they are on the lead lap. As we're getting ready to restart on lap 40 with 39 laps complete. So race leader, as we're going to go through your top 10, is Alexander Rowe in the 34. Eric Monaco in the second position, followed by Alex Bonsignor third. Zachary Fitzwater in fourth. Skylar Taylor completes the top 5, followed by Braden Perez, in the 6th position. Then Wayne Lopez 7th. Rogel Dorn in 8th. Wyatt Walker 9th. And last year's, and the driver who won last year, but for a different series, Val Mosco completes the top 10. Mosco trying to win here at Las Vegas for a second year in a row. And it's looking very possible that he could do it if he's able to stay out of trouble and deliver Powerhouse Crown Racing their first Pepsi Cup Series win in their first season. The pace car drops off, and Alexander Rowe is the control car, brings them down through the restart zone. Green goes back in the air on lap number 40. Nobody making any sort of moves through 1 and 2, or at least through the entry of 1 and 2. Everybody staying single file, and then you get to the back straightaway, and look at all this jostling for position. Skylar Taylor was the first one to break out of line and move the 98 of Zachary Fitzwater up the racetrack. And here he comes, Taylor, down on the inside of Alex Bonsignor, move the 41 up to the third position. Look at how quick all these drivers are going on 4 fresh Goodyears. And obviously on a new tank of fuel, these drivers will absolutely floor it through turns 1 and 2. But obviously, as we're going to see as we get later into a green flag run, that speed is, of course, is going to dissipate, and we will see more of these cars spread out as this session goes on, as this green flag run goes on. But nonetheless, Rowe continues to lead. Perez down on the inside, fighting for the third position, as Wayne Lopez is on the middle line. Here comes Wyatt Walker in the 19, down on the inside. He's got the positioning. He's down on the left rear corner panel, now pulling up alongside the 1 of Lopez as they work their way back through turn 1 and 2 and give the advantage to the 19 of Wyatt Walker. Meanwhile, left side of your screen, here comes Eric Monaco to the inside, and Skylar Taylor is coming with him as he's making a move for third. Possibly might try to go 3 wide for the race lead. Thought about it down the front straightaway. Unfortunately, was not able to make that move stick, but he's now in prime position to get to the inside of Eric Monaco as they head back down through turn 1. I thought Brandon Perez was going to turn Alexander Rowe from our turn 2 shot looking from the skybox, but thankfully that didn't happen, and we're still trucking. We're still clean and green as of right now, and Perez right back down on the inside takes the second position away as we're starting to see all these drivers are bunching right back up once again. As Monaco continues, starts to break out with the top spot. We do want to bring up, of course, we saw these 3 cars back here. That's Emily Anderson, Jerry Rose, Caleb Rose. No relation between Jerry or Caleb Rose, but of course these two find themselves at the back end of the field along with Emily Anderson. A lot of something definitely amiss on all 3 of those cars, obviously, as they were involved in incidents of their own. But meanwhile, Brandon Perez, 88, goes back to the point here on lap number 46 as we begin lap 47 here at Vegas. What's actually kind of interesting is that the 88 won here at Las Vegas last year, but and of course the driver was Val Mosco. Excuse me. But of course, this year the circumstances are actually pretty interesting. As whoa, boy. Vogel Dorn almost made it 3 wide for the top position, but Perez backed off the corner, and they are still 3 wide with Eric Monaco in the middle. Dorn on the bottom. Now it's going to be Bonsignor on the bottom of that 3 wide scenario. Are they going to be able to get this sorted out? And it looks like they will. Perez backs off just enough, and he tucks in behind Monaco and the 41 of Skylar Taylor as Kyle Craven takes off for the lead. But going back to what I was saying, the 88 won here last year in the McDonald's Cup Series, and of course, obviously, we know that the driver was Val Mosco, but this year it is a little bit different. Of course, in the WRLA Pepsi Cup Series, the 88 is with Cologne Motorsports, and Val Mosco, the driver, is working with Powerhouse Crown Racing. So, no matter which way this goes, Val Mosco's looking to win it for a 2nd year in a row. But if Brandon Perez wins today, that would be the 88 going to victory lane for the 2nd year in a row. So kind of interesting of how there's a bunch of coincidences coming into this race. As they work their way off of turn 2. Right now, top 4 single file, not for much longer as Sebastian Vaughn makes his way down to the inside. Vaughn comes into this race dead last in the point standings with 2 points to his name, trying to change all that here tonight as he moves up to third from Alex Bonsignor. Here comes CG Holt to the inside. He's making the move for the 4th position. There's Joshua Cornish in the 89. He is a Pepsi Cup Series winner. He won at Phoenix in 2020. And that is his only Pepsi Cup Series win on his resume. Vaughn already made the move to second underneath of Rogel Dorn in the 86 machine as he gets shoved up to the second line. Now here comes Hull to the inside of Sebastian Vaughn, and Kyle Craven has to be absolutely loving what he sees in his rearview mirror as he starts to check out by a little bit more over Vaughn. But Vaughn manages to retain that second spot over CG Holt. So that means CG is going to have to stay tucked in that 3rd spot for now. But meanwhile, challenge for the lead is on. Vaughn took a peek to the inside of Kyle Craven. Wasn't able to make the move stick. But here comes the 17 of CG Holt trying to go for his 2nd Pepsi Cup Series win. Works down low on the 54 of Vaughn. And moves CG Holt up into that 2nd position, bringing Joshua Cornish, Braden Perez, and Eric Monaco all with him. Cornish to 3rd, now trying to get 2 birds with 1 stone is CG Holt. He dives down to the bottom through 3 and 4, pulls up alongside Kyle Craven, and he's going to get that lap over the 28. Cornish peeking to the inside just a little bit on the 17 of CG Holt, as Holt's going to try to come up and clear try to cover the spot, but is not able to do so as Craven works up on the left rear quarter panel down the back straightaway and obviously loses ground there through turns 3 and 4 because the bottom being the most is obviously the most preferred way to go. Especially at a place like Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But you can definitely see the drivers have definitely bunched back up once again. But they are, but you can also kind of see towards the middle of the pack, they are strung out by just a little bit. You get back here to Bonsignor and Alexander Rowe. They're currently in a little zip code of their own. Just kind of in between these 2 packs, you know, of course this lead pack and then the 2nd group that is being led by Valky Rayatikian in the 23, but definitely some very interesting stuff going on here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Of course, as we're nearing the halfway mark here of the Pennzoil 400. If you're just now tuning in, we have been clean and green here after restarting on lap 40. And we only have 34 cars on the racetrack. All of them are on the lead lap. Here's a look at your retirees, just in case if you missed it. Of course, Quentin Moore, Zachary Taylor, Nia Steidel, the 18 of Abby Walker, the 32 of Nikki Fox, the 99 of Noah Clifton, Aaron Abel, 43, and Campbell Marsh. Were all involved in a crash on lap 34 through turns 3 and 4. But, and all of those drivers have retired from this race, and they will have to get ready for COTA in the next few weeks' time on March 22nd. So after tonight, we'll be on a good 3-week break before we get back at it at the Circuit of the Americas, our first road course race of the season. That should be interesting. But focusing back in here on this race right here, here comes the 33. That's Val Moscow. He started towards the back end of the field for this race, and he's already moved up into the 5th position. As up front, here comes the 89 of Joshua Cornish to the inside, followed by the 31 of Eric Monaco. As Monaco looks to try to go 3 wide here for this top position. See where all the slower traffic is. They're just now crossing the start-finish line right now as all these cars head down the back straightaway. But Cornish breaks out with the top spot over CG Holt. Fight for third is on as Claire Phillips is on the outside, but doesn't really have any help whatsoever. as Moscow and Whitlock kind of work together there down the front stretch, back down into turn number 1. And things are definitely getting really interesting here. 3 wide towards the middle of this pack. There's Nathan Stapleton in the 97, currently running in the 13th position. Remember, we talked about him towards the beginning of the show. As Stapleton did not really get off to a good start this year. 3 points to his name towards the bottom of the point standings. He was definitely looking for some redemption to try to get his season turned around. So far, as we're approaching the halfway mark, he's getting it as of right now. But the only question is Stapleton going to be able to go to victory lane here tonight? And if so, well, that set him on the stride for the rest of the 2025 season. We're about to find out. But like the thing is with Stapleton, as I mentioned, he always finds a way, even if it's at the early stages of the year. Remember back in 2017, he got his first Pepsi Cup Series win at Martinsville. And then 2020, he wound up winning at the Fontana Speedway, which we're going to that track towards the end of this month. But that was on a fuel mileage race. But as far as this year, as far as 2023 goes, he hasn't been able to get to victory lane since, of course, since his 2020 win at Auto Club Speedway. But definitely trying to turn stuff around and try to get the job done here this weekend in Las Vegas. Trying to get that win and try to get his 3rd Pepsi Cup Series win here tonight. Lots of drivers coming on down pit road this time. Bonsignor darts down low, bringing Ajax Fitzgerald with him. And those are the first 2 cars that will begin our second round of green flag pit stops. And interestingly enough, right at the halfway point of the Pennzoil 400 here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Let's see if there's more drivers that do wind up coming down. Miller, Fitzwater making contact, and Miller into the wall. Miller into the wall, gets sent in there by Ryan Gundillo. Good grief. That is after he made some contact with the 98 of Zachary Fitzwater. He lost a little bit of control and absolutely demolishes the turn 4 wall. And just like that, we're back under caution. Joshua Cornish led him back to the yellow line. Let him back to the yellow. Man, good grief. Lots of damage to the 96 of Andrew Miller. That was just unfortunate because he was trying to get slowed down and try to stay off of his teammate of Fitzwater, but that did not quite work out. And Miller just continued to lose a little bit more control at a time and just came up into the 51 of Gundillo, and that sent both of them up into the outside wall, and that's just super, super unfortunate. Quentin Moore going to bring the rest of the drivers that have yet to pit on down to pit road, but it looks like Miller might, yeah, he's gonna be fine for the most part. He will be able to continue, but obviously he won't be up to par with the rest of the other drivers. Oh, a little bit of contact with Emily Anderson and Bruno Di Giacomo. I believe that might have been Anderson trying to get into the pits, but she might have. I wonder if she ran out of gas. She's trying to coast, and unfortunately, Emily Anderson is not going to be able to make it to her pit stall. She's holding up Stephen Colon and Zachary Fitzwater, but now as Fitzy pulls out, Stephen Colon, oh yeah, Stephen is definitely not happy, pushing the 4 of Emily Anderson. You don't see that often. Oh my goodness, how about that? Yo, you don't see that. You don't see that often in NR 2003. When was the last time that you've seen a drive? When was the last time you've seen one car help another car on pit road? I have never seen that in NR 2003. How about that for Stephen Colon being a good old sport and helping Emily Anderson to her pit box. She gets the surface that she'll need, and she'll come back out on the racetrack. But wow, that was something to watch there. As Emily Anderson comes back out, your race leader currently now is Braden Perez in the 88 machine. Let's go back and take a look at what, just review that crash that we saw live. That was Andrew Miller in the 96 making some contact with his teammate of Zachary Fitzwater, and unfortunately coming up into the path of Ryan Gundillo and sending him into the outside wall. Let's go ahead and review that. But this is Miller right here. He's down on the inside. This is what happens because there's so many drivers that are just trying to get down onto the apron, and Miller had just happened to be there as Fitzy came down into the 96. Of course, Ryan Gundillo gets into the right rear, actually. So Gundillo was trying to get down into the pits as Miller was going to try to make one more lap around and try to come out and try to get to his pit stop. But unfortunately, that didn't quite work out the way that he had hoped for, as Gundillo got into the right rear of the 96 and just sent him into the outside wall. But the good news is for Andrew Miller, however, is that he is able to continue on with the moderate amount of damage that he has sustained on his Loctite Ford Mustang. Let's go ahead and review that again. This time we're going to look from the skybox cam. That was just an extremely hard hit for Andrew Miller right into the outside wall, but he is going to be able to continue on, but just obviously not going to be up to speed with the rest of the leaders here on right around the halfway mark of the Pennzoil 400 here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Just, and the only thing is just NS Racing themselves. I mean, altogether, I mean, other than Zachary Fitzwater, the rest of NS Racing has kind of been struggling. Of course, with Nathan Stapleton being at the bottom of the points bracket, Andrew Miller kind of in somewhat of a similar position, but nowhere near Nathan Stapleton. Noah Clifton top 20 in the points. But as for tonight, I mean, Clifton ended up getting a really good qualifying position, started fourth in this race, unfortunately is behind the wall, but for, you know, Andrew Miller, Fitzy, and Nathan Stapleton, poor qualifying results. Clifton behind the wall, obviously we already mentioned that, but Miller ended up getting into the outside wall via Ryan Gundillo, hooking him in the right rear. But Miller is able to continue on nonetheless, and he is gonna you know, of course get back out there, but just that was definitely something that you would not have expected from here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. But just crazy action, to say the least, here just past the halfway mark of the Pennzoil 400. So of course we're back to live action, working our second yellow flag. Thankfully no retirees here in this race, but we're getting ready to turn them loose once again. Just in case if you're tuning in, of course Joshua Cornish actually goes back to the race lead. So I did make a little mistake there at saying Braden Perez was the new leader. So do want to apologize for that little hiccup there. But nonetheless, there are a few cars that are in front of race leader Joshua Cornish. That's because all these other cars, they're on the tail end of the lead lap. So of course, DeGiacomo, Valkyrie Atikian, Ajax Fitzgerald, Ryan Gundillo, Terry Walker, Caleb Rose, and Jerry Rose, they're all on the tail end of the lead lap. With the exception of Alex Bonsignor. Well, no. Alex Bonsignor and Andrew Miller, those are the only two cars that are one lap down. But as for everybody else in front of race leader Joshua Cornish, they are all on the tail end of the lead lap. So the race for the lead is going to come from within this pack. But I would be a little nervous now because we're going to have some slower traffic on our hands. I mean, especially if you're especially if you're both of the Roses, Jerry and Caleb. Again, no relation between these two drivers, but They just both happen to share the same last name. So as we're getting ready for the restart, it is Bruno Di Giacomo who is out front, but he is not the official race leader. Again, it's Joshua Cornish in the 89. Then running in second, that is Braden Perez. CG Holt is third, followed by Eric Monaco fourth. Val Mosco, Monaco's teammate, completes the top 5, followed by Reagan Whitlock 6th. Nathan Stapleton in the 7th position. Then in 8th, that is Alexander Rowe. 9th is Andrew Ramsey, and Skylar Taylor will round out the top 10. As the field comes off of turn number 4, they're going to restart on lap 73. Let's see how this action is going to turn out with a couple of other cars down on the inside as Di Giacomo brings them into the restart zone and back to green here in Vegas. Exactly as I expected, that 96 of Andrew Miller is way off the pace, and Perez almost got into Andrew Miller there as he goes to the inside of Cornish right out of the gate and goes to the lead. Everybody just jostling to try to get back or try to get around Andrew Miller. They will be able to get by him without any form of incident. So Perez goes back to the point, followed by CG Holt in second. Then third is the 31 of Eric Monaco. Moscow is now fourth, and Reagan Whitlock jumps up into the 5th position. Remember, Whitlock started shotgun on the field, and she's already up inside of the top 10, knocking on the door of the top 5. And if you're Stephen Colon receiving some updates on your teammates and on your cars, you have to be loving what you're hearing, especially with Braden Perez being shown as the leader, and of course Reagan Whitlock being up close inside of the top 5. So definitely some very good action here at Vegas, with all the lead lap cars trying to get around the other drivers that are on the tail end of the lead lap. And CG Holt goes to the point underneath of Braden Perez as they fight back down into turn number 1, still 3 wide as Eric Monaco gets put up to the middle line, up closer to the top by Val Mosco, and CG Holt trying to work his way around Ryan Gondillo and Ajax Fitzgerald. Monaco retains the 2nd position, but Val Mosco is going to move up into 3rd, followed by Reagan Whitlock breaking into the top 5. She's currently 4th. Here comes Nathan Stapleton in the 97, and remember, restarted in the 7th position. He is already moving up 1 spot in the 6th position, and I'm going to try to knock on the door of the top 5 as they come off of turn number 4. Very possible that it could happen, but Moscow goes up to the outside. Definitely probably not the best position on his end, as now he gets put up to the middle line by the 9 of Whitlock. Joshua Cornish currently following, along with Nathan Stapleton there. Alexander Rowe coming back into the picture, followed by Andrew Ramsey in the 67 machine, poking his head inside of the top 10 yet again here today. We haven't really talked a whole lot about him all race long up until this point. Here he is, running inside of the top 10. But still plenty of racing to go here, as of course we are past the halfway mark, coming around to complete lap 79. The Great Clips cars currently nose to tail. Yes, if you are seeing double, you're not actually. Well, actually, yes, you are. But of course, the paint schemes, although they are the same, they are inverted. But meanwhile, Joshua Cornish fights down to the inside. He's going to try to take over the race lead, but they're coming up on Andrew Miller here in an absolute hurry. What are these drivers going to do as Miller holds up Ajax Fitzgerald along with everybody else? They're going to start stacking them up. Miller currently blocking both lines as now Fitzgerald gets some momentum on the outside going, and he'll break away. But remember, Fitzgerald is not on the lead, he is not on the lead lap as of right now as far as scoring goes, but this helps him out by a lot as he gets back on the lead lap and is going to try to pull away. He better hope and pray that another caution comes out, and he better hope and pray it comes in a hurry. Pause. But Cornish, after all that, comes out with the lead. CG Holt in second. Alexander Rowe third, Andrew Ramsey fourth, Rogel Dorn completing the top 5 as Holt gets to the inside of Joshua Cornish. This is the battle for the lead. Ramsey tried to peak low on the 34 of Alexander Rowe, was not able to get that good enough of a run to make that happen. As Cornish now is going to lose the second position to the number 34 of Alexander Rowe. But look at this, Sebastian Vaughn, along with Rogel Dorn. There's the 19 of Wyatt Walker, Chase McClure in the 52. First time in a while since we've talked about Chase McClure, and now here he is inside of the top 10. There's Skylar Taylor, followed by the 27 of Ryan Little. Another driver we really haven't talked a whole lot about here in this race since the closer to the beginning. I want to, if I remember correctly, but he's currently holding on to a top 10 position right now. There's Michael DeFeo in his third consecutive Pepsi Cup race, currently holding on to the 12th position. He's made all 3 Pepsi Cup Series races so far this season. Gonna try to go 4 for 4 in 3 weeks' time when we go to COTA. So that should be definitely fun to watch. As meanwhile, Fitzgerald is gonna be put back to being 1 lap down by CG Holt as Rogel Dorn moves up to second and now gonna try to challenge for the lead as the door opens heading into turn number 1. Here comes Rogel Dorn to the inside. Not quite able to make that run stick on the bottom as they exit turn number 2, but CG Holt able to make the top work out to his favor. Of course, with that good old launch coming off the corner, and he'll break out with the top spot. 3 wide here as Wyatt Walker gets to the inside of Joshua Cornish, putting him in the middle of that 3 wide situation. They are going to get out of 3 wide, thankfully heading through turn number 4 this time by, as Walker works his way to down low on the 89 of Cornish. Chase McClure going to try to make it 3 wide, heading back into turn number 1. Try to do something similar to what Wyatt Walker was trying to do the last lap around, but not able to make it stick, as Walker still fights side by side with Cornish for third. And it looks like he's going to get the position on the 89 machine, clears Cornish, and will try to set his sights on the leaders of Rogel Dorn and his own teammate CG Holt. They're coming up on Andrew Miller once again. Look at this. Look at the speed difference. About 200 down the back straightaway versus 173. That is nearly a 30-mile-an-hour difference between the first place car and what is currently the last place car on the track. That is Andrew Miller, and there you get by him again. Whoa, that's actually really close. Oh, that was really, really close. Man, they are just coming up on this 96 in a hurry. I would have to believe that that hit that Miller took into the outside wall, that might have knocked out a cylinder, maybe 2, on this race machine. So definitely very unfortunate for Andrew Miller, who was running pretty solid all the way up until he pancaked the passenger side of his race machine in the turn 4 barrier. But it's still very, very early on in the season. Unfortunately, finds himself in the 34th position, 3 laps down. Definitely not the way that Miller would have hoped for his night to turn out, as all these other cars are going to pass him on by on lap 92. Meanwhile, up front, CG Holt and Wyatt Walker, Walker Family Motorsports 1-2 as of right now, bringing Chase McClure in the 52 with him. Skylar Taylor, Rogel Dorn fighting for that 4th position. Dorn has it at the stripe, but Skylar Taylor's going to want it heading back into turn number 1, and he's got it, at least for the most part right here. Challenge for the lead is on. Heading back into turn number 1, or turn 3, excuse me. Side by side for the race lead. Here comes Wyatt Walker to the inside of CG Halt. He's going to get it at the stripe. New race leader. It's Wyatt Walker in the 19. He's trying to right the wrong from last week at the Rockingham Speedway where he felt like he should have won. But just, again, the pit strategy was not quite on his side. But looking to change all that here tonight here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway as he breaks out with the top position. Skylar Taylor moving up into the second position fairly easily here on lap 95. And I would definitely have to expect pit stops to come back around and take effect close to right around lap 100. So definitely want to keep an eye out for that as this race progresses on just a little bit further. So as they race off of turn number 2, here comes McClure, who's going to try to make a move on Skylar Taylor, but Taylor absolutely blocked the absolute crap out of Chase McClure, and that's going to send Taylor to the race lead. Move Wyatt Walker back to 4th and then some as he gets hung out. So Taylor led that lap, but Chase McClure is right on the attack already as they come off of turn number 2. There's Rogel Dorn, Sebastian Vaughn, CG Hall back in the picture. But things are already starting to heat up as they're catching Andrew Miller once again, already back down into turn number 1. And that 30-mile-an-hour difference once again going to be put on full display as they are absolutely catching Miller in a hurry. Dorn and McClure fight side by side. There's Andrew Miller. What are they going to do here down the front straightaway? Are they going to split him? Oh no! Dorn gets put into the wall! But I don't know how in the world they managed to keep it straight, but they stay green for now. Sebastian Vaughn with a little bit of damage to his car. An absolute that is actually a huge buckle on that hood. That is a huge buckle. Oh my goodness, Andrew, that brace implications right there. As Dorn makes contact with Miller, sending him into the outside wall, but how in the world these drivers kept it together, I'll never know. To be quite honest with you, I will never know how Sebastian Vaughn is still, for the most part, keeping up with these guys. I'll never know that either. But I can definitely guarantee you once pit stops come around, that all is going to change. All of that will change. Vaughn is already starting to lose positions because of that huge buckle on the hood. That is 100% affecting the aerodynamics on that race machine. And here we go. Pit stops are taking effect as Ajax Fitzgerald finds himself going to pit road. And I believe he's the only car thus far to start our third and what may potentially be our final round of green flag pit stops. Jerry Rose comes in, followed by Bonsignor, Terry Walker, and Ryan Gundillo. Those are the first 5 cars. Now make that 6 as Stephen Colon is on pit road. Second place, Skylar Taylor comes in. Valkyrie Atikian is going to follow, along with Bruno De Giacomo and Rogel Dorn. So Dorn's going to try to get that damage assessed. Fitzy, Crown, Rose, and Moscow. All those drivers come on down into the pits as Fitzy makes contact with Stephen Colon. And I believe, yes, Colon has already made his repairs and he is back out on the racetrack. Joshua Cornish stays out as Kyle Craven, CG Holt, Russell Blaze, and others come on down to pit road. Pole sitter Russell Blaze, before the moment of coming to make his pit stop, was running 8th on the racetrack. So pretty good rebound here for Russell Blaze after starting on pole, and hasn't really found his footing to try to get back up to the front of the field, but in the late stages of the Pennzoil 400, he has managed to find himself back in a good spot to get back up into the top 10. Cornish surrenders the lead as he comes down to pit road. And if I'm not mistaken, the lead may go to the 41 of Skylar Taylor. We're just going to have to find out as, whoa, Taylor swoops low on the slow machine of Andrew Miller. But how we didn't have a crash there on the front straightaway earlier on between Dorn and Miller, I will never know. That was probably a very, very close call, if I may say. But race leader, still Joshua Cornish. He's making his way back out onto the track. But he's going to get easily passed here by the 41 of Skylar Taylor right about here. So new race leader, it is going to be the 41 of Skylar Taylor, with closing in on 29 laps of racing to go here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway for our third race of the season, the Pennzoil 400. And looks like your top 10 is going to go as follows. Is Skylar Taylor shown as the leader. Then running in the second position, 1 second back, that is Chase McClure, followed by CG Holt in the third position. Joshua Cornish in fourth, followed by Kyle Craven completing the top 5. Then it's Russell Blaze riding comfortably in that sixth position. Andrew Ramsey 7th, Eric Monaco 8th. Then 9th is Zachary Fitzwater, and Ryan Little rounds out your top 10. But with the help of the draft that is going to allow Chase McClure and others to catch the 41 of Skylar Taylor, let's see if there's going to be a move made for this race lead. Down the front straightaway, McClure looks low, but he's not close enough to make a pass. Now he is. He works his way to the inside, but not able to capitalize as McClure going to get passed by the 17 of CG Holt, followed by Valkyrie Atikian. Now Atikian, remember, is 1 lap down. She is the first car 1 lap down, so she could still play spoiler in this little party up here for what could potentially be the win. That is exactly what she's doing right now as she works her way to the inside of CG Holt. That is everything that Skylar Taylor's wanting in his rearview mirror as he starts to pull away. 25 laps to go this time by. Is now Rogel Dorn is going to go a lap down to Skylar Taylor. Right about here, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a little bit before Taylor winds up getting around him. Yep, right about here. Yeah, Skylar Taylor works his way to the inside of Dorn. Going to put him 1 lap down. But Joshua Cornish now on the attack once again as he works his way to the inside to go for this race lead. Chase McClure not too far back. Then we have Craven, Holt, and as well as Bruno Di Giacomo. But remember, Di Giacomo is not on the lead lap. He is another one of those drivers that is 1 lap down. So right now, it is the top 5 that are all in this pack, that is mixed in with some of these other slower cars. But Kyle Craven is, however, in the mix. He is a driver that is on the lead lap. As you can see, he's running third, so he could still go for his first Pepsi Cup Series win along with, well, pretty much all the other cars that are on the lead lap right now. Of course, McClure and also Joshua McClure could still go for his first win, along with the 41 of Skylar Taylor. The only 2 drivers that are going for their second career Pepsi Cup wins are indeed the 17 of CG Holt and the 89 of Joshua Cornish. But they're coming up on Andrew Miller once again. Let's see what happens here. Oh, everybody gets held up. Both lines absolutely got held up by Andrew Miller. There goes Chase McClure to the inside as the bottom gets the opening and the top gets blocked absolutely horrendously. So that will leave McClure and Craven to fight it out for the top spot for now, as the only two drivers that are on top of each other. Now there's CG Halt. Gonna try to get up there and make it a 3-horse fight for the win. As we're now inside of 20 laps to go from here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. And if you're wondering where points leader Stephen Colon is, well, here he is right here running in the 24th spot on the tail end of the lead lap. So things, although they don't look too great for Stephen Colon, there is a chance he could just barely escape with the points lead, but I'm not quite banking on that because there could still be somebody that is in the top 10 in the points standings that is running up closer to the front here in this race that could just barely come out with the points lead, knocking Stephen Colon off the top spot. But meanwhile, challenge for second is on as CG Holt gets to the inside of Kyle Craven. He'll move up into second, followed by the 52. Well, of course, with the 52 still showing the way, Cologne Motorsports looking to go back to back. Of course, Stephen Colon won last week at Rockingham. This week, it's Chase McClure in his first Pepsi Cup Series outing, trying to win back-to-back for Cologne Motorsports. He's also got his boss right in front of him, speaking of, and there's Emily Anderson in the 4. Anderson just trying to do everything she can to hold on and stay on the lead lap in that number 4 car, but that more than likely is not going to happen as Cologne works his way to the inside of the 4, bringing his teammate and driver that is leading, but Chase McClure with him. And now Cologne moves up high to let Chase McClure go, but CG Halt makes the mistake of staying behind the 25, and that will allow Kyle Craven to make a charge down on the inside. They're 3 wide heading into the 3rd corner, but I would expect Stephen Colon to back off and allow some room for these leaders to duke it out. McClure gets away temporarily, but Kyle Craven already back on the attack, as now they're down the back straightaway once again. You were gonna, as Craven more than likely is going to have an opportunity to try to go for this top position on the 52 of Chase McClure, possibly heading down into turn number 1. Let's see what happens here. Not quite doing it, but as far as what Craven is teasing, there is a chance where he could do it. Maybe heading down this back straightaway. Let's see what happens. So far, no moves have been made just yet, but I wouldn't quite say that Kyle Craven is going to just try to go for this race lead right out of the gate, because he's been very patient thus far, closing in on the 10 to go mark, just letting Chase McClure just sit out there with this top advantage. And there he goes, down on the inside. The patience has run out. So Craven is going to go to the inside, but wait a minute, there's Andrew Miller right there. Oh my goodness gracious, that was so ill-timed on the part of Kyle Craven as they were closing in on Andrew Miller. Look at this gap that Chase McClure has over the rest of this group. That is well over 1.5 seconds at least. Although that may look like good news for Chase McClure, that is definitely not. That is bad, bad, bad news, because with this package, it's supposed to bring these cars close together. So that draft is 100% going to come into effect. But McClure holds on to the top position as of right now, closing in on the 10 to go mark. 10 fingers in the air, 10 laps to go here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's Chase McClure who continues to lead the charge And that gap is starting to close. 1.6 seconds now is the difference. These drivers have managed to gain at least 6/10 on race leader McClure. Valkyrie Atikian there, leading this little group. CG Halt, Joshua Cornish, Skylar Taylor, all three of those cars, they are still on the lead lap, and they still have a shot. Now under a second between the 52 and the 17. Still just ever so slightly just working together, continuing to stay organized, and they are all catching up, and just, yeah, they've really at this point, they have caught the 52 of Chase McClure, who has been riding up here all by himself. And now let's see what things are going to look like here. What are these drivers going to do? Are they going to try to get to the inside of McClure? Or is CG Hall going to run out of patience and try to take matters into his own hands, try to get by Valkyrie Atikian? It looks like this is what's going to happen. That's going to be the spoiler to Chase McClure's party, but not if Joshua Cornish has anything to say about it for CG Halt. As Cornish works his way to the inside of the 17, it's double file up at the front of the field. And it soon is going to turn into a fight for this race lead. Skylar Taylor staying glued to the back bumper of the 89, as now the challenge for the top position is on. McClure on the outside. Cornish on the inside. Give the advantage to Chase McClure as he breaks out from that fiasco. And is now going to try to get around Valkyrie Atikian from the outside, but here comes the 89 right back on the attack. 5 fingers in the air, 5 laps to go as Cornish pulls out ahead. Just for the most part, but don't quite count on him staying out front just for a little bit longer. Of course, McClure breaks out with the lead. Breaks out with the advantage through 3 and 4 as Skylar Taylor and CG Holt fight it out side by side for third. The part-timers are going at it. New race leader Joshua Cornish at the stripe with 4 to go. Can the 89 get clear of the 52? Yes, he can. Skylar Taylor now works his way to the inside of the 52 of McClure. They work their way off of turn 4. 3 laps of racing to go. What can they do to try to get by Joshua Cornish in the 89 machine? Taylor trying to go for his first win, along with CG Hull trying to go for his second. Race leader Joshua Cornish trying to go for his second win. McClure trying to go for his first. They catch up to Andrew Miller once again. And that's going to slow everybody down. Skylar Taylor, look at the 41 down on the inside with 2 to go. Using the 96 as a pick, Skylar Taylor breaks out with the lead. Oh my goodness gracious. They're coming around this time for the white flag. And Skylar Taylor has the advantage. Will he be leading? Coming back to the checkered flag. White flag in the win. 1 lap to go from Vegas. McClure starts to pull up on the 41. But that might be just too little too late. Down the back straightaway. 1 last time. And through turns 3 and 4. I think the deal is sealed at this point. They worked their way off of turn number 4. Skylar Taylor is finally a Pepsi Cup Series winner as they win at Las Vegas. Chase McClure, so close for Cologne Motorsports, comes home in the second position. CG Halt will finish third. Then fourth, the 67 of Andrew Ramsey. Roberto Crown Jr. rounds out the top 5. Then in 6th is Ryan Little. Zachary Fitzwater comes home in 7th. Then in 8th, Russell Blaze. Val Mosco will close out the deal in 9th, and Wayne Lopez rounds out your top 10. What an amazing race here tonight at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Of course, for Zachary Fitzwater, he does continue on his amazing run in the point standings. Pure consistency out of the 98 camp. And with that, he'll more than likely come out with the points lead, but we're going to have to wait and see what the points are going to look like once they get posted up in the Discord. Just wanted to make sure that my mic was still working, but of course, 23 drivers finished on the lead lap. Valkyrie Atikian just barely escaping by getting back on the lead lap. Bruno De Giacomo all the way down to Andrew Miller. They finished one lap down or more, but Miller's day was just turned absolutely abysmal. Down at least 30 miles an hour, more than likely had a cylinder down on that 96 machine and went down 8 laps. And we only had these 8 retirees, at least the 9 retirees here in this race. Quentin Moore, Zachary Taylor, Nia Steidel, Abby Walker, Nikki Fox, Noah Clifton, Aaron Abel, and Campbell Marsh. All those drivers, unfortunately, went out earlier in this race, and they're going to take some pretty big hits in the point standings, especially second place Campbell Marsh. He's definitely going to take a huge fall in the point standings, as well as a lot of other drivers in that camp right there. But as far as Skylar Taylor's case goes, he's definitely going to come out. They're definitely going to come out with being in a better spot as we head into Coda on March 22nd. That is the next time you will see the Pepsi Cup Series out on the racetrack at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is going to be a very, very interesting night for road course racing. First road course of the season. That's going to do it for Pepsi Cup Series racing from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Want to congratulate Skylar Taylor on getting the job done here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. If you are in the Discord, keep an eye on the Discord so that way you can see your points once this YouTube premiere concludes. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to hit the like button, and if you haven't considered subscribing yet, recommend you do so in order to keep up with some fine content coming out in the near future. If you're watching this on Twitch, be sure to hit that follow button so you do not miss a future stream and a future WRLA Pepsi Cup Series race on top of that. Of course, again, we'll be back at COTA, the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, on the 22nd of March. That's going to be a fun one for our first road course race on the year. One more time, congratulations to Skylar Taylor on getting the victory here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Have yourselves a great night, everybody. Take care, and we will see you all in a few weeks' time